Y'all prepare your hearts because I'm about to reveal the expert level creep that I am. I had the opportunity to be introduced. I have to give a shout out to our podcast manager, Christy. She said, for a few months, she said, you have to connect with this girl. You have to connect with this girl. And I was like, okay. I will. And I went into the vortex that is Berna. I went to her website. I understood the copy. I understood what she did. I understood that she's like basically a savant when it comes to finances, but doesn't ever make you feel low or dumb about it. But I have to tell you that the thing that actually connected me to Berna in a real creepy, tangible way is I spent a hot minute on her YouTube channel and I start talking to Berna. And next thing you know, I'm like, we're just BFFs because there is a person who sees my inner weird, not so funny, tries to be cool 16-year-old person. And that's what you're going to listen to today. Some financial mic dropping moments with a little bit of like 13-year-old boy humor. We're here for it. Berna, welcome to the Jasmine Star Show.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I'm psyched to be here. I'm hyped to be here, should I say, as Financial Hype Woman. And I connect with all of it. I'm just so happy that like, it's a conversation between like adult you and adult me, but I think really it's a conversation between like weird teen you and weird teen me being like, we found each other. I get it. I see you. Yay.
Well, the inner teeny bopper in me sees and honors the really cool, swagalicious teeny bopper in you. Okay.
Thank you.
I have to tell you, I have been a fan of your videos and I'm going to have like a little TikTok moment where I'm going to do a little voice overlay. No, I'm just kidding.
Please. I was like, all right.
I know. There's a quote from your videos. Do you think you could win at Monopoly if no one told you the rules of the game? No. Money is a game we're all forced to play, but no one told you the rules, especially for people of color. Don't you wish you had as much money as you had melanin? Hey, okay. Berna, what is the Financial Hype Woman and how did you get started with learning the rules of the game and how can you break that down for us?
Of course. So Financial Hype Woman, and anytime anybody hears that, they're always like, they kind of get this look in their eye like, okay, all right, because it's made up. I completely made up my job. I'm a financial educator, but I call myself a Financial Hype Woman because I felt like the finance world, the money world, really needed a hype woman. The job of a hype woman is to stand behind you, the star, the star, the main character of your life, which is you, and just be like, yeah, get it, girl. You're doing so good. I love you. That's the best. Wait, maybe that's not the best. A little right to the camera. Perfect. Love it. Like that is what a hype woman's supposed to do. And I noticed, and I'll tell you more about my financial journey, but there's so little hype, so little positivity inside of our financial journeys. We bring a lot of shame. We bring a lot of baggage to the money conversation. And I think the very first level of what I offer is hype. Is like, you know what? When you come to my channel, when you come to my community, it might be the first time ever in your life that you felt excited to talk about money, that someone has talked to you about money in the lens of humor, in the lens of relativity, in the lens of memes and pop culture. And so when I call myself a financial hype woman, I'm saying like, okay, all the other money corners of the world, you know, they're stuck. What I like to say is the finance world is hella male, hella pale, and hella stale. If that's not your bag, then come over here. Like we got cookies, we got lemonade, we got brown people, we got melanin, like come to this corner over here. So that's like what, for me, what being a financial hype woman's all about.
I absolutely love it. I'm so happy that I get to speak to the female, cooler millennial embodiment of Flavor Flav.
Oh my God, the OG. Where's my giant clock?
Exactly. No. You need a big, like a giant money sign.
A bag.
Yeah.
Bag.
That's exactly what you need. We are going to get into some deep topics around guilt and shame about money, but why do you think it's important to get a handle on your finances, specifically as an entrepreneur? Like there's a lot of people in the game who, you know, floss on social. Why do you really need to get your numbers straight from the beginning?
Yes. So financial health, I think, is such an important part of just like the core of our bodies. You know, we talk so much about you need to get your mind right and your soul right and your body right. We live in a world where it's an inescapable truth. Money is the language of power in this world. It's capitalism. Mm-hmm. We have to play by certain rules of the game inside of capitalism in order to quote unquote win in a lot of ways. And so financial health, I think, is a really important part of our overall health. I always say that financial care and money care is self-care because it affords you so many other things that make you feel safe in the world. You know, you having a roof over your head makes you feel safe. You having food in the fridge makes you feel safe. Knowing when's the next time you're going to get food in the fridge, can you keep the roof over your head? That makes you feel safe. All of those things cost money. And so money care is absolutely self-care. And as an entrepreneur, what's funny to see, and for myself as a budding entrepreneur and like a business owner, it's funny to have to challenge yourself to get your business's finances together when you don't have your own finances together. You know, so many of us come to the entrepreneurship world and we're like, yeah, I gotta form this LLC and I get this budget right. And then you're like, wait, what's a budget? Is that something I should have been doing in my normal life? Probably, whatever. Nobody look at that. Let's just get this right. You know, like there are so many financial principles that apply to both the personal side and the entrepreneurship side. And a lot of them are sort of interchangeable. And so when we teach ourselves how to budget, either for your business or for personal, it's really just about taking care of your life or taking care of your business. It's plugging in like the blood that you need to keep the business going. It's the same thing as plugging in all the essential things in your life to keep your life going. So it's super important, and it can be really complicated and scary seeming from the outside. But I love to say that like budgeting is an ugly word for a beautiful thing. And I like to try to get people excited about budgeting for their personal life so they get excited about budgeting for their entrepreneurship life too.
Okay,
And
Berna,
we
I'm
can
gonna
get
jump
into that.
in. I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna
Yes.
jump in. Okay, because right now, I mean, I have a ton of things I want to ask you, but right now, I want us to speak to the person who hears the word budget, who normally likes the podcast because, oh, she likes how I make her feel and she gets inspired. But
They're
then
like
she hears
budget.
this. Yeah. Like, so to her,
Yeah.
what I love, what my focus is on transformation, is
Yep.
that the goal for me is every podcast that drops, you're transformed. You're a different person after listening to the episode. So work us backwards. When this person stops at the end of this podcast, who are they? How do they feel? And how are they different knowing how this game ends in the next 30 minutes?
Yep, absolutely. So I think the number one thing that we always have to deal with when we talk about money, and the reason that people feel like, ugh, when you talk about budgeting or you talk about investing, is the shame that we all bring to the money conversation, especially when you are a person of color, a woman of color, when you're a child of immigrants, when basically you're not hella male or hella pale or hella stale. There's a lot of baggage we bring to the money conversation. And the first thing that I want to say, and like the only transformation that really matters to me when I talk to anybody about money, is to work your way out of the shame, because the shame is what's keeping us ignorant about money. The shame is what's stopping us from learning more. It's what's stopping us from going, all right, how do I budget? How should I invest? Like, what does that even mean? It's this baggage that we carry with us, financial baggage and financial traumas that we carry with us throughout our entire lives, that stops us from asking each other questions. And when we stop asking each other questions, when we stop sharing about our financial lives, we stunt our growth, we stunt our money, we stunt our health. And so before anything, before people are like, give me investment tips or how do I budget? I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's unpack. I'm like, let's unpack your money baggage. What shame are you bringing to the money conversation and why? Who taught you to be ashamed about your money? Who taught you to not talk about it? What does your family believe about money? What were you taught by your elders or your parents growing up? And how has that contributed to your negative feelings about money right now? Because if we don't fix
Okay.
that,
Okay.
girl,
Yes. Finish it. If we don't fix it, then what?
if we don't fix that, we're never going to learn anything. All of it is just going to be paint on top of the scars. It's going to be band-aids on top of the wounds. But you got to heal them from the inside, your financial wound, your financial trauma from the inside, to go, you know what? I am worthy of building my money. I am worthy of figuring out my budgeting, my saving situations. Because otherwise people are just sort of like, I guess. And the good habits and the tricks and the tips and the cute apps and hacks, whatever, they don't stick.
Okay, so before we actually get into like this was a major detour. Didn't see this coming. Like
Oh,
skirt, like we just swerved here. So I know that when we talk about money, specifically as a brown girl from the hood, I
mm-hmm.
never spoke about money. And when I started my business, I never spoke about my money. I didn't even speak about money with my family. And then
Yep.
all of a sudden in 2016, I enter into the digital world of running a business, and people talk about money like they're talking about, I mean, they're talking about their weekend plans, and they just talk about like how much money they made in a lunch or in a sale. And I'm sitting there and I'm shook on the inside. And I had to do the work of understanding where these stories coming from and why do I feel a certain thing towards it. So somebody
Yes.
who's listening now, we know Berna is not a shrink, although she has the voice of one. Like you can literally give some really great advice. What are 3 questions somebody right now, like how do I start unpacking? Now, obviously this is going to be a different episode. We're going to bring Berna back for, but to
Ooh.
do the work right now, now, what are the 3 questions that somebody can help move the needle in unpacking shame, fear, or doubt around money?
Yes. So one thing that I like to start off with, I literally start my workshops off with this on a worksheet or piece of paper, back when we could have workshops where you could hand each other pieces of paper. That was cute. Don't we miss that? I miss that. It was so cute when we could do that. But I would tell people to write a letter to their money. Dear money, I wish ... If you were writing, it's kind of like when people say like, oh, you're still thinking about that ex or that person who did you wrong. You don't want to talk to them though. You just have all these pent up feelings. Write the letter to them that you're never going to send them. Write that letter to your money as if they were a person. The reason this is so incredibly transformative, and I've seen my budgeting clients and kind of community go through it, is you start to see the connection between your money and your feelings and your history. I had one person who started their money, dear money, I wish you would XYZ. She did her letter. She came back to me in tears because she was like, everything I wrote about my money, it's the exact same feelings that I have about my absent father. Everything. So she was like, money, I wish you stuck around more. Money, I wish I felt like I deserved you. I deserved your attention. I wish I felt like I deserved your abundance. And then she started to sort of write and make the connections. And she realized because that her father was the purse holder in her life, the bag holder, but was so in and out of her life, she started to make the connection of like money and paternal attention. And she was like, and then it's like, skirt, hold up. I need a therapist to get up in this. But she realized that what was holding her back about wanting to pursue her financial freedom journey was she was equating money with like the lack of love that she got from her dad. Now, not everybody's going to get that deep. It might not get that deep at all when you're writing your letter to money. But the fact that you can uncover those, the muck underneath, it really kind of cleans house. So you can fully understand what your money brain looks like from the beginning and then start to rebuild it from there. So I tell people, write a letter to your money. It doesn't matter if it's really, I don't care if it's like, hey, money, and you start to write like Cardi B lyrics. I don't care. As long as it's honest, start talking back to your money because it's a thing that has existed in your life. Your money brain has existed in your life since the very beginning. I also like to ask people, what was the first negative experience you ever had with money? Maybe it's something that happened in your family. Somebody made your mom feel bad about something she couldn't afford, or you remember this time that somebody called you broke, or it's like, what is the first negative experience you had with money? And how did that kind of escalate up to the way you feel about money now? A lot of folks, they maybe saw their parents dealing with, for example, my parents were really caught up in the housing crisis of 2008. And it was really common I'm a Filipino American, it was really common for other Filipino American families to sort of gather each other in the housing bubbles and be like, hey, if you remortgage your house 8 times, you can buy these 3 other houses in the middle of nowhere. Amazing. When, so of course you're sort of vulnerable to that kind of thing. And then basically my parents were kind of flipped upside down in the housing crisis. Then they filed for bankruptcy. And I realized that the shame and the quietness and the we don't talk about it and the bills that get shoved under the table, that all contributed to how I felt very like, nobody talked to me about money. Nobody say anything about money. It's shameful. We don't share it. And so all those things, all those exercises kind of really dig into the money trauma that you don't think about when you're just like whipping out your debit card from day to day. And it's important to look at.
Dang. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can Venmo me $50 for this free therapy lesson, and you can Venmo Berna 500. I'm just taking a little 10% tax.
Of course.
Okay.
My agent.
Speaking of this, okay. So when people who are listening who are familiar and maybe unfamiliar with who you are and what you do, we just got like some real deep inner work stuff that you have done. But let's peel it back a little bit. So during this housing crisis, how old are you?
Right now, I am 30.
No. I meant like when you saw your parents going. I'm trying to figure out like time in your life where it's like, what kind of like indelible impression is this leaving on your life?
Yes, it was all around like ages 16 to 18.
Okay, that's crazy because you end up paying off, if I read it correctly, like $50,000 in student debt.
Yes, it was $38,000 in student loan debt and $12,000 in credit card debt. Whew.
Oh, okay. So
woof.
You are able to sit front row with the shame that you see your parents dealing with hiding, like probably a little bit being overwhelmed with the financial crisis and properties and bankruptcy. You go to college, you get educational debt, you get personal debt. How do you pay this? How do you pay this down? Can you break it down for somebody who might be feeling maybe not under the weight of 50,000, but they're under the weight of debt? How did you do
Yes.
that? What was the first thing that you did?
Sure. So the very first thing I started to do, basically, what got me to believe I could actually pay off my debt was a better paying job. I was freelance. I was freelance video and writer in video producer and writer in New York City. And I was just like, I'm broke. And it's so cute and fun being broke in New York City because we're young. Like everyone's whipping out their Bank of America app at happy hour and like transferring money over for margaritas from their savings. Like, it's just so cute to be fun and broke. And that was like cute at the time, right? And I mean, thank God nothing catastrophic happened at the time because I
Okay,
didn't
wait,
know
wait,
how to
wait.
save.
Berna, I have to jump in because I'm going to be that terrible friend at dinner who everybody rolls their eyes with because it's like I'm
Please.
about to tell somebody right now a skit, like this quasi skit that I saw on
Yeah.
SNL. And people try to talk about SNL and they try to recount how funny it is. And it's not funny to people listening, but I'm
Oh,
about
I know.
to break down
Do
this
it.
scene. There's this scene on Berna's YouTube channel where she is talking about how she was young and broke. And she's sitting there and she opens her phone and they're on her phone. There, it sees that she has no money. And it says, and the phone is talking back to her and it says, you ain't got no money. And she's like,
Yeah.
next round on me. Like, I'm
Mhm.
telling you, Berna, I was dying. I was cackling. I thought it was so appropriate and inappropriate all at the same time. So this is
Uh,
me ruining the story, but I'm really making it colorful for listeners. Because I
yes.
feel like I was sitting at that bar with you and people were all sending money back and forth. So now let's get, so you're young, broke, you're passing
Yes.
around a Bank of America app and you have no money in it. And you're like, it's so cute, but not really.
We're adorable. It's like the broke people Olympics. It was always that in New York City. It was like complaining how broke you are, but like in this way of just like brokenness is part of my personality. Like we're broke together. When really we were terrified, confused. We had no idea what was going on. So what really started my financial journey was I got a full-time job. Wasn't a ton of money, but it was still like, oh my God, I'm going to get an IV drip of money every other Friday. And there's no excuse at this point for me then not to, because I was always like, I'm freelance, like budget what money? What are you talking about? I don't know. I even know when my next paycheck's coming. Cute and broke. But now that money was coming every other Friday, I was like, all right, well, it's on a routine. Let's see what I can do. And when I started to like Google how to budget, because I really want to pay off my debt, it seems like what I'm getting from other like bros in the podcast in the self-help world that we need to learn how to budget in order to pay off our debt. Okay, what the hell does that mean? I don't know. You know that the meme of the cat that's just doing like that on a keyboard?
Yes.
That was me when I was like starting to learn how to budget. I was like, how to, and there are spreadsheets and there are apps and all this stuff. And I tried them for a few months, but none of them worked. They all sucked for me. So I started doing what I've been doing my entire life. And I was journaling. I just started to journal about my money every time I got a paycheck. I did this all in the Google Doc. It'd be Friday at 10 a.m., payday. I would open up the Google Doc and just be like, well, here I am with my paycheck, same as last 2 weeks. What did I even do with it? I don't know. What do I want to spend it on? I guess we're going to figure it out. And I would just like literally just Google my feelings every 2 weeks about it. And that's how I started to really see patterns in my own spending. And it wasn't a spreadsheet and it wasn't an app. It was my own sort of like emotional, like scroll of how I spend my money every 2 weeks, which was so revealing. And I was like, what if I started to like give myself spending challenges? Like I see through many weeks of kind of tracking for myself that I spend a butt ton of money at Trader Joe's and it's like 80 to 90 bucks every time. What if I make myself only spend like $40 every time I go there? I didn't know at the time that's literally budgeting. That's budgeting. I was just like, F budgeting. I'm going to give myself spending challenges and journal about it. That is budgeting, you crazy. But I had to find my way. That's the thing is like, I had to find my way into the financial journey and I had to forge my own path because all of the, hey, start a spreadsheet, use this app, read this book, like was not working for me. And not to mention all the people who are giving that advice, again, hella male, hella pale, hella stale. Like these books were like, oh, okay, so you know how when your parents transfer the trust fund over to you when you're 18? I was like, ooh, what? Parents what? As so tone deaf, so little folks who look like me and you and sound like me and you. Those are the first two things that I saw. Of course, they're just like the methods aren't working and the voices and faces that are speaking at me aren't working either. So that's kind of how I started and how I got to actually paying off my debt. This is where it starts to get like more tactical, but basically budgeting is giving yourself rules with how you're going to spend your money every time you get money. And the way that you pay off debt is baking the sort of like pay off rules into baking like a debt payoff rule into those rules you give yourself. So when you budget, what you want to do is every time you get a paycheck, you've already got preset rules. all right, I get my paycheck. Usually it's like, we got our paycheck and you're just like, "Ah, I do whatever I want. I spend it. I did it. I hope I have room for rent at the end of this. It's Friday night, so tequila shots, blah." When you're budgeting, when you're very consciously budgeting, what you want to do is you get your paycheck and you do something called zero-based budgeting, which is basically quote unquote spend that entire paycheck as soon as you get it. So as soon as you get it, you're like, all right, how do I get all the way down to zero in covering all of my essentials and also baking in a little bit of fun money for myself, right? And so budgeting is following those rules every single time you get a paycheck. And then debt payoff is basically putting in a line item like a bill of like, this is how much debt I need to pay every single month to get to my payoff date in the future. And we can get into all the tacticals of that, but I just got so excited about like making up my own rules for spending my money and then trying to figure out those rules every other Friday. And if the rules doesn't work for that time, change it up again. That was all budgeting. I just didn't even know what to call it at the time.
Okay, we have to pause here because you say every other Friday, which makes me think of Friday the movie, which makes me think of the origins of Bye Felicia. Are you going to break down the origins of Bye Felicia for those of the people who don't know?
Absolutely. Okay, so this giant Google Doc that I told you I started, my sort of money journal, I started to call it, I put it really big at the top. I called it Felicia's Wallet because at the time, Bye Felicia, the joke was hitting really big and everybody was like, "Bye Felicia, I want to see what her passport looks like. She's always going somewhere." I was like, I want to see what her wallet looks like. How does she afford to go to all these places? So I called it Felicia's Wallet. But as I explained in one of the videos, Bye Felicia is not just like a funny thing that people start to say. It is a line, an iconic line from an iconic movie, Friday, starring Chris Rock and Ice Cube. And Felicia.
No, Chris Tucker. Chris
Oh,
Tucker.
sorry. My bad. Wrong Chris. My bad. We got to edit that part out. Edit that out. I can't be caught getting the wrong Chris in one of my favorite movies of all time. Oh my God. Friday,
I should have. Here's the thing. I'm your girl. I'm gonna call you out so that you don't get all of these DMs on the back end to be like, Chris Rock was not in Friday.
Yeah, exactly. That was not it. Chris Rock was not in Friday. I was just watching a video about Chris Rock talking about wealth today, and it's so good. I'll send you. Chris Tucker. Okay, let me start over. Okay. The origins of Bye Felicia. Bye Felicia is not just a random joke that people start to say. The origins of Bye Felicia. Bye Felicia is a line from an iconic classic movie called Friday, starring Chris Tucker and Ice Cube. And Felicia is a hilarious character in which she goes up to Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, who are chilling on the porch, and she asks if she could use the VHS to dub a tape, which could really show you like when that movie was. She asked to borrow a VHS. She was asking for stuff. They were like, "We're not trying to bother with you," whatever. Basically, they dismiss her and they're like, "Bye, Felicia." And she walks away. It's like such a forceful dismissal and such an iconic line. And when it was getting used over and over again, I was like, I think half these people have never seen this VHS. They've never seen the Friday VHS like me and my siblings did growing up. Had to let the people know exactly where it came from. Can't be appropriating this kind of stuff.
Right, because exactly, like people, we're less concerned with Felicia's passport and more concerned with her wallet because baby girl's got to pay her way to get there. Okay, so you start this journal. It's basically a Google Doc. You decide to call it Felicia's Wallet. Are you doing this for, well, we know you're doing it for personal finances. At what point in the game do you realize, oh, hey, this could also work for entrepreneurs?
So it's funny because they dance together in a really weird way. So I started that Google Doc and it was entirely just personal for me, right? And probably 6 or 7 months in, I was like, I'm gonna share it and see what people think about it. I put it on my Instagram, a little boomerang of me scrolling through the doc, and it like exploded. A lot of people in my network were just like, a brown woman talking about budgeting? Like, what world is this? And it was just such a conversation that I was like, I think we kind of have something here. And so I didn't start off being like, now I'm going to start this business and become like a finfluencer, which is apparently what they call us now, a finfluencer.
I was fancy. Like, you real fancy. You real fancy.
Or did I completely make up a name to make myself sound cool? Yes, both.
Either way, either way, we're good.
Either way. And so as I start to share the journey and share more about what I'm learning about debt, credit card debt. Okay, paid off my credit card debt. What are we learning about emergency savings? Like just sharing all of my learnings out loud. Then I started to think like, okay, this could maybe be a thing. Because what happened when I paid off my debt, and this was very calculated between me and my partner, we met each other and we're both like, let's get on like a debt payoff schedule together. And then let's do something crazy, like quit our jobs. And so we did. We both paid off our student loan debt at the same time. And then we both quit our jobs and we went traveling through, backpacking through Asia for about 10 months, almost a year. And then we came back.
Wait. I'm a storyteller. What were you doing? What was he doing at the time? And did
Yes.
you guys literally pay it off on the same day?
We
Or
paid
like how close are we looking here? Because I want to be like Sally Mae, let me show you this. And then you guys like, and then what? And then is it like tequila shots? Like, tell me the 411.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's so funny because like there were no tequila shots and there was no hyper. And of course it was like click and like, yay, like self-celebration. I was working at Instagram at the time. Actually, I worked at Instagram. I was sort of a teen translator, I would say. Like my job was to translate teen culture inside of Instagram. I was there for 2 years, and my partner Peter was at the YMCA, and so we're both in San Francisco. And we both decided to get on this debt payoff journey and quit our jobs at the same time around October 2018. And we put our 2 weeks in the same week, and we both hit like our very last submit payment, I think within a week of each other. And we have video actually of me hitting submit payment and both of us freaking out. My mom being like, you have to take pictures, drink. Like this is a very cute home video, which I could send you later. But there was a whole moment. And then it was like, oh my God, like the next chapter of our life is beginning. It's crazy.
That is amazing. Okay, so you guys travel for 10 months and you're like, let's do this crazy thing. Like we quit our jobs. And then what happens? Like you guys land back in the States in one of the most expensive cities in the United States. Like, do you stay there? Like what happens?
Yes. So I am lucky to stay here because so much of my family is here. I was born and raised here in San Francisco Bay Area. So this was already the plan when we got back. I was like, Mom, can we kick it in your home? Can we? And they were like, my Filipino family, so many brown families are like, are you kidding? Don't be dumb. Like, come, let's go do this. And of course, there's lots of, kind of residual shame there for us of being like, are we going backwards? Are we not independent anymore? But then I had to like recounsel myself and be like, this is a privilege that I get to come like with my family, that I have a family that I feel safe with, that is offering me space and my partner space. And we get to sort of like financially recuperate after our 10 months of like literal shenanigans in Asia. And when we got back to San Francisco, when he was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go back to work for the Y. And this is where I was like, uh-oh, what do I do? Do I go back to Instagram? Like I made sure that I'm a big, first gen Asian daughter people pleaser. So when I left Instagram, I was like, love, 2 months, like notice, love me. And so I was like, I could go back to Instagram, or this financial education thing is kind of taking off. Like, can I be a business owner? Can I be an entrepreneur? And I want to tell you, Jasmine, actually, that like one of the things that blows my mind the most about being an entrepreneur is like, before that moment, I had told myself for years, like, I can never be an entrepreneur. I don't think I could ever do it. I was always like, I like to have a manager and I like structure and I'm always going to be such a good worker bee. And then after this breakthrough of financial freedom and a year abroad, I was like, maybe I can do it. Let's try. And the way that I sort of set up my financial side of my life was I was like, I don't know what it means to be an entrepreneur or set up a business, but I do know how I got myself feeling financially fit and strong enough to pay off my debt, save up to go abroad and live abroad. I'm just going to apply the same principles to my business in terms of like when I get a paycheck, I'm going to split it up amongst all the things that I need until I get to zero. I'm going to build up an emergency savings so that if my business goes bad, I have 3 to 6 months of floating. I'm going to set up separate accounts for all the different things that I need so that I never reach into the wrong pots for stuff. And so far it's worked out really well, but I'm still a baby. Still an entrepreneur.
Berna, whoa. Okay. You got to speak to me like I'm 5 because sometimes I'm special. Like here I am. I'm painting the picture. You're in San Francisco. You move in with your parents. Your partner goes back to the Y. I'm sure your mom and dad love having you there and sipping on coffee. And occasionally everyone's doing somebody else's laundry. I've been there, done that. Talk to me. Like I've walked that life. Okay, so there's that, and it's wonderful. But how do you get money? Like when you're like, I'm budgeting. I'm like, what are you budgeting? Where's your money coming from?
Oh my gosh. At that point, so I had to kind of shift gears and go back into my freelance mode. So I was freelance before I had the full-time job for many, many years when I was like being cute and broke. And that's when I was like, all right, well, I'm going to have to work 2 sides of the system. One side of the system is, what does it mean to be an influencer, a creator who gets money from brands? What does that even mean? I've had, while we were abroad, I had a couple of brands approach me and be like, hey, do you want to do sponsored posts? You want to do sponsored videos? So I was like, okay, I could work that side of the entrepreneurship, like that income flow side. And on the other side though, like those things are so sporadic and you can't plan
Right.
them. A lot of them, I wasn't pitching myself a lot. A lot of them was just incoming. And so I was like, on the other side, to sort of bankroll this, I need to like light the fire back under my freelance butt and reach back out to all my old freelancing clients, my old editors, all the folks that have tweeted at me about like, oh, I love your work, blah blah blah. Then I was like, how much do you love my budgeting and financial work? Because I write and I make videos and I can consult and all these things. And so I just sort of repitch myself to all of my old like freelance network folks and be like, so I know that I was doing this before, but I'm all about budgeting now. Do you want to talk about it? And that was super interesting. So of course it took a little bit of time to like kind of get my network to go like, what are you doing now? What are you asking of us? But that was a much more regular income flow versus the sort of creator life of like sponsors, brands, which is like a whole other world.
Okay, this is brilliant. This is amazing because is actually the next question I wanted to ask is what do you recommend business owners do to really set up their finances from the front end? But this is super super personal. I want to say number one, thank you for bringing us in that journey and explaining the revenue streams because there's a ton of people listening who want to pursue the life of being an entrepreneur, but it's their side hustles because they really
Mm-hmm.
do need that 2 week IV drip of funds, which hey, no tea, no shade. Every week I've been there, done that too. Then there are the
Yes.
people who have freelancing. So what you're saying is as long as you have a stream of income, how then do you set yourself up for success as an entrepreneur? Like what are the things, preliminary things that people need to like lay out?
Yes, 100%. So from the outset, just financial responsibility in general, you have to keep your personal and your business money completely separate. And by separate, I don't mean like business checking account and personal checking account. I mean like I would use separate banks entirely. Like I like the mechanism of logging into a personal bank account and logging into a business bank account. It separates my money. It also separates my brain and separates my soul and my life so that these things don't interconnect. This is super important one because I, from the beginning, understood that I need to treat my business as like my employer and my personal life separate. So I pay myself. Like if I make money, for example, a company sponsors an Instagram post from me, way back in the beginning of my kind of journey, they sent me a paycheck that would hit my business checking account. And then I would set myself up for like a payday
Mm-hmm.
every other Friday
Mm-hmm.
and transfer money to myself every other Friday. So basically my business, I set it up as much as I could to feel like the way it felt when I worked for a 9 to 5. I had a specific payday every other Friday. I tried to shoot for it to be a specific amount because I knew how much it took to run my usual life because I already budgeted on my personal side. I had sort of the number that I needed every 2 weeks to live my personal life. So I'm like, all right, well, my paychecks have to be at least that big every other Friday. And so I had like a payday set up for myself and I was transferring from those different accounts. So you absolutely need separate bank accounts. I would say it's the same way that I tell people on the personal budgeting side, you need a few checking accounts to separate out the different sections of your life. Adulting, ratchetry, what I like to call it, which is fun. Different savings accounts for the different things you're trying to save for. And emergency savings is huge. Same exact thing on the business side. I was like, on the business side, I need an account where my money is going to come into. A savings account to save for taxes, because as an entrepreneur, you need to save separately for taxes. You have to take out that ish for yourself. So you need a separate savings account. I needed a checking account just for the like I have a bills account on the personal side, I have a bills account on the business side. This is to pay for the web hosting and any kind of
Mm-hmm.
employees that or like freelancers and contractors that I employ. I'm paying for, the random things in my business. So to separate out and designate all these separate accounts is super, super important for entrepreneurs in the very beginning.
So, I mean, God, I sound like I'm such a creeper, but in one of your videos,
Oh,
you say,
please.
I would pick up the phone and ask people really dumb questions. I was unafraid to ask the dumb questions. So I'm going to be unafraid. So somebody is just like, oh, Berna, I have my business and you see, I'm a photographer and I also have a paycheck. And when I get
Yes.
paid for my clients, I just get that check and I put it into an account and then I pay what I need to get paid. What do I do now? You're saying that this person can walk into the bank, sit down with a representative and say, I have a business and I want to separate my business account from my personal account. And then within that business account, I want to make sure that I'm covering money for my taxes
Mhm.
and my regular ongoings like web hosting and things of that nature. And they will be like, sure, we gotcha. Is it just the act of going in and saying, this is what I need help with, and then they do it? Because right now, I don't want somebody to hear this and be like, wait, I have to go and set up 15 new accounts. Like, oh my gosh, like how do I get people taking action outside of the three questions they need to ask themselves around their emotions around money and writing themselves a letter? Is after
Mhm.
this is like, just go and do. And is the action go to your bank and handle it? Is that it? Is it that easy?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's even easier than that. You don't actually even have to talk to any humans for a lot of these amazing online banks. So, for example,
You know what, Berna? I'm acting like it's 1997. Like, go into the bank, get on your horse and carriage,
wear
and
your
then,
mask.
right, wear a plume, sign the contract. Yeah, you're right. Do it online. Woo!
Totally don't like. Well, it's almost like I would almost recommend doing online first and trying to see, because whenever I would go to these banks, I actually did, in the before times, the before times, I went to Chase Bank, which is where I do my business banking. And I was like, I actually want to open up these 5 accounts. And they were like, 5? We got a business checking, we have a business savings for you. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I need 3 checkings and 2 savings. And they were like, why? And I was like, oh, okay, I have to explain to you how I think budgeting works. Here we go. I need it for my taxes. I need an emergency savings for my business. I need a tax savings for my business. I need a checking account for my bills. I need a checking account for where I keep all my paycheck money. And then I need a checking account for where the paychecks land. That's what I need. And they were just like, I mean, I get, they're just like, they're not used to dealing with that kind of money mentality. And so it was a lot easier actually for me to just open up these bank accounts online, because there's nobody questioning me about my methods. The crazy thing is, so many of us on the personal side were taught from the beginning, like, you have a checking account and you have a savings account, and that's all you need to the end of time to
Right.
buy. But we don't realize that that's confusing the heck out of our money, because then our tequila money is in there, like, cuddling with our rent money. And then we get all confused. We don't know what the hell is in there. And so banks, even on the business side, kind of work that same way. They're like, why would you need more than one? Like, that's not, I'm like, no, 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 no. See, I left that, I broke up with that mentality, and I'm going to set up as many bank accounts as I need to make my brain feel good about this. And my brain needs 5, so do it. I'm like, do you want my money or not? Like, I'll go to a different bank if that's what you want. You're being weird. But online banks make it super easy to do that too. And there are some banks, like I would say Simple Bank and Ally Bank, that actually make it so that you can open up a checking account either on the personal or business side, and open up inside that checking account different buckets for the things that you need. You could even designate, this bucket should have $60 in it all the time. This bucket should always have $40 in it because it's my Trader Joe's, whatever. So some online banks make that super easy for you. But yeah, go for it.
Speaking of ease, okay, so is there like a I feel like I'm asking you like your freaking Chase Bank. Is there any sort of system that I deposit a certain amount and then automatically a certain percentage goes into accounts, or is this something that, like, as a business owner, we need to be very cognizant of?
I believe at this point, I haven't found any technology that does that for me in a comfortable way. I
Berna, let's
know,
make it happen. Dude,
I
we
mean,
need to up level. Look at me. I'm just a hustler. We need to up level Felicia's wallet. We need to make this happen. I just can say that now at this point in my business, like I'm listening to this and it's like, I just wish that I can go back to my former
I
self and say,
know.
listen to this podcast, because I was the person who had the one bank account. And I
Yes.
grew up so poor that I never ran out of money. I had plenty of money, came down to pay my taxes. I just
Yeah.
never gave myself a paycheck. Like, I was
Why
like,
would you?
yeah, no, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. I just need to pay my bills. And so I wish I had started this much earlier. I'm very thankful to see now in our business, we have a CFO, and that's all great. But like, for
Yes.
somebody who's listening right now, you're saying that I go back to my former self as a photographer and I get a $10,000 paycheck. I put that business paycheck in my business account, and then I go in manually and take out percentages and put that out. Okay.
Parse that stuff up for sure. I think,
Okay.
well, when you have like a 9 to 5, right? You have an employer giving you a paycheck, you can go to the employer and actually go to HR and be like, hey, I have all these different accounts. Before you give me the paycheck, let me tell you where I want you to parse up and deposit and what percentage of those paychecks. So that's like the wonderful kind of luxury of having an employer. You can just be like, before I even see it, put 30% of my savings account so that I don't even get tempted. And that's so helpful because it automates your savings. On the business side, I haven't found any tool that's better than my own hands going in and being like, all right, 10,000 check. My rule is that I want to save at least 10% of every paycheck. So what's 10% of 10,000? 1,000, right? Yes, Berna, do the math. Cool. 1,000 transfer. What do you need to run your business? $450 this month. Transfer. It could feel daunting, but there are some ways that I've made it feel really fun for myself. For example, it's just like the mechanisms are daunting. There's not a lot around it, but I make it fun for myself by playing a very specific Spotify playlist of all budgeting jams that I have personally curated so that I'm like dancing at the same time as I'm doing it. I
Wait, so
make
people,
sure.
I mean, is it public? Can people find
Oh,
your
yeah.
Spotify? Okay, how do people find the
Yeah.
Spotify list? Because maybe it'll inspire them to do that work.
Yes.
What are we looking for on
It's
Spotify?
you can look up Hey Berna on Spotify. It's called my money motivation playlist. Specifically, okay, and maybe this will help the entrepreneurs out there. But the other day, Boss by the Carters came onto my Spotify and I literally had to turn it off because I was like, that's my invoicing song. I don't listen to that until I'm invoicing. I specifically turn that song on when I'm in my Wave, my bookkeeping software, and I'm sending people reminders for my invoices because Jay-Z talks about like sending invoices and like being your own boss. And I'm like, you make the positive associations with the music and the actions. And then now I have a lot of fun doing my business bookkeeping because I'm like, we know exactly what time it is. Like, let's go turn the music
Hey,
on.
okay.
Like Nicki Minaj's LLC, that song. Ugh, I do it whenever I'm like doing my LLC and like back end business stuff because it's all about setting up an LLC. And I'm just like in my own music video, basically. These things, like kind of funky, weird mechanisms, make the like kind of eye rolly bookkeeping stuff a lot more fun for me.
Ah, I love this. Okay, so as we kind of turn the corner, like you have just like spilt some real knowledge. I said spilt, but it should have been spit. But I'm just gonna keep on rolling with it and just act like I'm cool
Well,
because
because I sort of
you
like
know, just
vomited it
like
out.
yeah, you know, like us, like I just make up words and I run with it.
I spelled it.
Okay, so what are the three biggest mistakes that you see in your career of entrepreneurs making? Like, if you could just say, please avoid this. Like, what are the three things?
Of like creators or entrepreneurs anywhere.
Yeah, like when it comes to their finances, like you're like, this is the
Oh,
pattern I see.
yes.
This is what I need to tell you.
Yep, absolutely. I would say, and I'm entirely biased because it has worked for me, but to treat yourself like a company. I think a lot of folks kind of see entrepreneurship and their personal life as like one meshed up thing. And I think a lot of ways that could be good. It could be healthy. And I'm not here to tell you like how to live your life, obviously. But for me, it has been crucial to separate my entrepreneurship brain on the finances side with my personal brain. It has been crucial to set up paycheck days for myself. So I know exactly how much money is coming in and when. I think one thing that my sort of like that I kind of had right about my former entrepreneurship brain, which was like, I don't think I ever want to be an entrepreneur. I don't think it's going to work. I like structure too much. I'm like, you're right. You do like structure. So set up that structure for yourself. It isn't necessarily that it means that I can't be an entrepreneur, but in my life, since now I can customize all the things, I can set up my own every other Friday structure. I can set up my own Friday is payday structure. And that means on Wednesday, because these bank transfer times are still playing us for some reason, like on Wednesdays is when I do my business budgeting so that I can send my paycheck to myself on Friday. And Friday I open up my personal account and I'm like, oh look, I got paid. Like, thanks, CEO of Hey Berna LLC. Appreciate it. And that has been so essential to getting myself into a cycle of budgeting because a lot of the time I think entrepreneurs sort of like you budget and you bookkeep never or or when you are in like a panicked moment and you're like, I need help, I need to hire somebody. So get yourself on a schedule for sure is the number one thing. Let me think of two. That's like my biggest. After get yourself on a schedule, I'm like everything flows from that. To be completely honest, because then you have a time to direct all of your financial worries to a certain time. You're like, you know what? I worry about like this. My CFO time is Wednesdays at 10 a.m. I'm gonna leave that question for my CFO time on like for next Wednesday. Otherwise, like all the financial kind of questions and worries are like floating all the way around. And when I treat myself as my own CFO of my company, I have CFO time, I have CFO duties, and I could box it out. And my brain is sort of freed up from there to do all the other things.
I love this. And so, speaking of time, people are going to probably want to spend more time with you. How do people connect with you? How do people find Felicia's wallet? Like, how
Yes.
can they use your tools and resources? How do they go deeper with you?
Yep, absolutely. So you can find actually the free downloadable template of Felicia's wallet, which I've now turned into Berna's wallet because I was like, let me leave Felicia alone. She never did anything to me. It's gonna be Berna's wallet now.
Good for you. Good for
I
you.
was
Wait,
like, I'm not gonna continue.
when did this change happen?
The change happened, I want to say about 2 years ago, because I started to think about just like, I can't be building a brand off of Felicia, off of something that was created and owned by Black culture. Like that's not mine. And I was like, I don't have to like tag myself to this thing. I don't want to, it just didn't feel right. Right. Just that in terms of appropriation didn't feel right. So I was like, it's Berna's wallet. It's just a downloadable
Good for
template of Berna's wallet now. And it's
good
free.
for you. Good for you. Heck yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do people find it?
Yes. It's on heyberna.com. It's heyberna.com. It's in my shop. You can download it for free. You could also find me on Instagram at heyberna. You could find me on YouTube at heyberna, but honestly, I'm the loudest on Instagram and the most obnoxious there.
And you're the most fun there. That's also fine.
Yes.
Berna,
Lots of
thank
fun.
you so much for generously sharing your behind the scenes of running a business and empowering entrepreneurs. I also feel like I have to thank you for opening up really personal parts of your life. I'm the
Of
kind of
course.
person that I ask questions and then it comes out and I'm like, maybe she didn't want to talk about living at her mama's house for a minute. Like, I
Oh my
don't,
God.
it comes out, Berna, and I'm like, oh man, maybe I need to send her some flowers after.
No, but what's so important about the conversation of any kind of financial journey is transparency. Like the more that I can talk about living at my family's place, like them going through bankruptcy and all of that, the more people feel unlocked, like, oh, it's okay that we talk about it. And she didn't like self-destruct. Oh, okay. And that's what I'm talking about, the unlocking the shame. We get past all of that so we can actually learn things. So if anybody feels seen by those stories, then we did a good thing.
Thank you. Thank you. You are
Yeah.
living your light and creating an impact. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. This has been awesome. Thank you for having me.